Hello dear children, greetings for the day. Children, in the class we are going to study cyclotron. What is cyclotron? What is its construction? What are its working principle? How does it work? And finally, what are its limitations? So we are going to deliberate on all these aspects of cyclotron. Well children, cyclotron is a charged particle accelerator. It is used to increase the kinetic energy of the charged particles. And these energetic charged particles are used in various nuclear reactions. The energetic charged particle, they are bombarded with different nuclei, and as a result different new elements are created. Nuclear transmutation takes place. So in nuclear physics, this cyclotron is a very important device for experiments in nuclear physics. Well, a cyclotron consists of two hemispherical hollow conductors. These hemispherical hollow conductors in the diagram look like D. This is hemisphere 1, this is hemisphere 2. In this 2D space over this plane, well, these hemispheres look like two D's. This is D1 and this is D2. Well, both these D's are connected with an alternating source with a predefined frequency nu, which is called cyclotron frequency. This cyclotron frequency depends upon the charged particle, the nature of the charged particle which is to be accelerated. So beside this AC source, there is a magnetic field created, and magnetic field is in transverse direction. That is, it is either cross or it is dot. Magnetic field is either in this direction or it is in this direction. So how does this device work? Well, there are two working principles of the device. Number one, well, the charged particle which is going to be accelerated here with the help of this device undergoes motion in two different fields simultaneously. One is motion in electric field, another is the motion in magnetic field. And as the charged particle moves through an electric field, what happens? It acquires kinetic energy. Its change of kinetic energy is always equal to charge into the potential difference the charge moves across. This is working principle number one. And second is, when charged particle moves normally into a magnetic field, it moves on circular path. Now let us move this side and see how the device works. Well, this AC source which is connected here, which has a frequency nu, which is called cyclotron frequency. Well, at this stage we must know what exactly is the nature of alternating source. Well, if these are the terminals of an alternating source, what happens? This is alternating voltage, same is the alternating current. So this alternating voltage across the terminals of an AC source varies sinusoidally with time. The variations are like this. Well, what is the meaning of such variations? See, this is one half of the alternating voltage. This is next half of the alternating voltage. Again first half and then the next half. So what happens? In one half, one terminal of the source is positive and other terminal of the source is negative. And in the next half, the polarities of the alternating terminals are reversed. So in the first half, if this terminal is positive, this end of the alternating source is positive, this one negative. Then in the next half, the polarities are reversed and this becomes negative and this becomes positive. So after every half cycle, the polarity of alternating terminals are reversed. Well, the charged particle which is to be accelerated is introduced right here in the middle. The charged particle which is to be accelerated is introduced right here in the middle. This is charged particle Q. At the instant when we introduce the charged particle, well, either this is going to be positively charged and this is going to be negatively charged because of this alternating source connected across, or this is going to be negative, or and this is going to be positive. So let's assume that the moment we introduce the charged particle, well, this one is negative and this d is what? Sorry, this d is positive and this d is what? Negative. And what happens? Since this is a positive charged particle and the moment we introduce it here right in the center, if this d, if this hemisphere happens to be negative, what happens? It is pulled because of electrostatic force of attraction towards this d, d2. And as the charged particle is pulled towards this hemisphere, the charged particle acquires speed, velocity. And you know, as the charged particle acquires velocity, it is acted upon by Lorentz magnetic force also. There is magnetic field also in perpendicular direction. And remember this, Lorentz magnetic force acts over moving charges only. Initially the charge is at rest, but it is pulled toward this d because of the opposite polarity of this d. It is pulled, it moves towards this d because of electrostatic force of attraction between this positive charge and this negative sphere. And as it acquires velocity v, what happens? There is Lorentz magnetic force acting over it. And what is the direction of Lorentz magnetic force? See, magnetic field is cross, the velocity is towards right, the Lorentz magnetic force is along thumb. This thumb is nothing but the center. This thumb points out towards the center of the circular path. We know already. So what happens? As the charged particle enters into this hemisphere d2, it is acted upon by Lorentz magnetic force, which is towards the center of the circle, and the center of the circle is what? Center of the circle is along thumb, and it moves on the semicircular path like this. And after moving on this semicircular path, when it reaches over the edge of its own sphere, how much time goes past? The time which goes past is what? T by 2. T by 2. T by 2 is half the time, the time of half the cycle. And we know after half the cycle the polarities of the spheres are reversed. So as the charged particle reaches from here to here in time t by 2, the polarities of these spheres are reversed. Now this sphere becomes negative and this sphere becomes positive. So as the charged particle reaches here, over the edge of its hemisphere, it finds this sphere of negative charge. So what happens? It is again pulled because of electrostatic force of attraction. And because of this pull, the speed of the charged particle increases, and with greater speed, it moves on the semicircular path of greater radii, like this. The time again taken is what? T by 2, half the cycle. As it completes the half cycle, time t by 2 goes past, and after time t by 2, when this charged particle reaches here, it again finds this sphere with negative polarity and this sphere with positive polarity. So again it is what? Pulled toward this sphere. And once it is pulled toward this sphere, the speed of the charged particle increases. It moves on semicircular path of even bigger radius. The radius of the semicircular path goes on increasing. But as it reaches here, again the polarity of the spheres are reversed, and its velocity increases and it moves on semicircular path of greater radius, and the process continues. Every time the charged particle moves after making a semicircle over the edge of its own sphere, it finds the other sphere of opposite polarity. As the result, it is pulled, and because of electrostatic pull, its speed increases, and once the speed increases, it starts moving on semicircular path of greater radius. The process continue until the charged particle acquires very high speed or requisite value of speed. When the speed is sufficient or desirable, we get the charged particle out. With the help of exits. We place at appropriate distance from center. And as the charged particle comes from the exit, it has got very high kinetic energy, which is of course desirable kinetic energy. Now, see here, As the charge particle moves on semicircular path, the speed of the charge particle is not varying. The speed of the charge particle changes only in this gap because of acceleration by electric field. Thereafter it moves on circular path with constant speed. Well, as the charge particle moves on circular path, we know centripetal force required for circular motion is provided by law of magnetic force, and if we equate the two, mv square by r centripetal force, that is equal to bqv. Well, r is equal to mv by bq. So as the velocity increases, well, the radius of the charge particle increases. We know angular velocity is what? Linear velocity upon radius. Angular velocity is 2 pi by t. And what is v by r? V by r is bq by m. We have already done all these expressions. So 2 pi by t is equal to bq by m. That means t is equal to 2 pi m upon bq. This is the time period of revolution of the charge particle. Reciprocal of the time period, that is inverse of time period, is what? Frequency. And you can say frequency is bq by 2 pi m. So frequency of the charge particle depends upon its charge and mass ratio. So every distinct particle has a different frequency, cyclotron frequency. Depending upon the nature of the particle, we set this frequency. Well, kinetic energy of the charge particle is 1 upon 2 mv square. V is what? V, if we find out from here, V is equal to bq r by m. So if we substitute this value here, well, we get 1 upon 2 m v square, means b square q square r square upon m square. If we solve it, we get kinetic energy as, we get the kinetic energy as b square q square r square upon 2m. And we can very clearly see here kinetic energy is directly proportional to the square of radius. So as the radius of the circular motion goes on increasing, the kinetic energy increases. Kinetic energy can also be found out by acceleration, because the speed increases only in this gap, acceleration by electric field. And we know that change in kinetic energy is charge into the potential difference the charge moves across. Here the potential difference applied is V. So kinetic energy acquired by the charge particle as it passes through this gap once, where potential difference V exists, is what? QV, the potential difference is V. In one revolution, the charge particle passes through this gap twice. Therefore, kinetic energy acquired in one complete revolution is what? 2QV. And if there are n revolutions, net kinetic energy is what? N times this. N is the number of revolutions. So kinetic energy can also be found out by this relation. Well, there are certain limitations associated with the device. Obviously, this charge particle accelerator is not used to accelerate neutrons, as neutrons are neutral particles, not charged particles. Well, there is limitation to the speed we can impart to a particle. Why? As the speed of the particle increases, there is relativistic variation of its mass. As the speed of the particle becomes very, very large, it becomes close to the speed of light, then the mass of the particle varies by the relation m is equal to m naught 1 minus v square upon c square square. This is very famous formula of Einstein's theory of relativity. So because of the variation of mass, the charged particle does not remain synchronous with the frequency of alternating source. So there is a limit to the maximum speed or maximum kinetic energy which can be imparted to a charged particle. Another very important limitation, and that is very serious limitation, is we do not use cyclotron to accelerate electrons. Electrons are of course charged particles, but we do not accelerate electrons using cyclotrons. Why? Because of course the first reason is relativistic variation of mass. As the speed of the electron increases, the mass of the electron varies by this famous relation of relativity. Besides that, electron being very light particle, as the speed of the electron increases, its wave nature starts dominating. We know, as per the Pauling hypothesis, wavelength is inversely proportional to square root of kinetic energy. So as the kinetic energy of the charged particle increases, the wave nature of electron starts dominating. As a result, the electrons does not remain synchronous with alternating source. So it starts moving randomly instead of moving on semicircular path. So we do not use electron We do not accelerate electron using cyclotron. Well, children, world biggest cyclotron is in the country United States of America, in its state Alaska, and India's biggest cyclotron is there in the premises of Punjab University, Chandigarh. Well, there is so much to talk about, so let's wind up the class. Thank you very much. God bless you all.